Hey everybody, welcome to Align Your Health. Today I'm really excited to talk through something that's near and dear to my heart. In fact, it is really the fabric of what I'm made out of when it comes to healthcare. I think what our family's made out of. And it's just this idea that when you understand the underlying principles of true healthcare, and there's a lot going on there right now with MAHA, et cetera, but when you really understand some of these true underlying principles, that you behave differently, you walk through life differently, your worries or your fears are different, and it changes everything about how you look at life and especially health, even when it comes to serious things and things that we see every day like heart disease and cancer. I can't wait to get into this a little bit deeper. All right, so I'm excited to get into this. What we're talking about when you say the word principles, this can get a little more ethereal, but principles can also be concrete. So the principles I'm talking about are that we were created and that we were created intelligently. Myself as a believer, I believe what King David said is, I'll praise the Lord for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And in believing that, we don't believe that God left anything out. We ultimately believe that things that are God-made are good and things that are man-made, unfortunately, inherently can be bad. Mm-hmm. I think we can see the evidence of that in fluoride in our water and toothpaste, GMOs in our food. We can just run the gamut. Parabens in our hair wash. Right. The funny thing is, all those products have to say no parabens, no GMOs, no fluoride, which exemplifies the fact that the rest of it is toxic. And again, going back to man-made, and when you remove those things, we're trying to go back in the direction of getting closer to design.
They require a much deeper examination, right? Like when you have something where you're like, this is naturally the way it operates, you know that intrinsically it's a good thing.
Yep.
Like you're fine. We don't have to do a deep dive. We don't have to pull up chat. We don't have to
find out if H2O is okay for you.
Right. To find out if water is good
without fluoride.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But when you have something where we're just man in the general, man, woman, in the general,
has gotten involved.
Yes, we've gotten involved. We've started, putting our process into it, altering it, started to doing things. Like you really have to take a deep dive to figure out, is this something really the best position you could possibly take is exactly what you said. No, it's not good. Yeah. And then you deep dive into it and then you do some research and then you figure out like, okay, maybe this is something that might be a little bit helpful. Or
you don't ready, fire, aim and pour fluoride into the entire water supply for everybody and then do the research like 30, 40 years later.
That's an interesting way to do it.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way.
And as human beings, we have a bad habit of doing that. Right. It's like, we put some smallpox on somebody and they had less of an outbreak of smallpox. So now we should take smallpox, put it in a needle, inject it in everyone. And then on top of that, we should add 72 more shots into the schedule. And this is how man-made things just get out of control. Right. And there's a verse in the Bible that says there's a way that seems right unto a man, but the end of it is death. Mm-hmm. And I really believe that. So when we get into this whole idea of what I was talking about is comparing faith to also faith when it comes to our health. And I separated them in that opening statement of like, when you believe in certain principles, then you walk through life differently. But I think when you believe in certain principles, period, you walk through life differently in every aspect. So when it comes to faith, there are people who are afraid of death. There are people who are afraid of getting sick and dying. There are people who walk through their lives fearful for their kids and their children. And don't get me wrong, I never want to see my kids hurt.
Yeah, right.
And it is a reality in this life that something terrible could happen. But if you have faith in what happens after, and you don't think that this life is it changes your perspective on things. It doesn't mean that if something were to happen to one of your children that it wouldn't still hurt. It just means that you have a different perspective and you don't walk through life with the same fears or anxieties.
Right.
The same way.
Right.
And the same is true about health when you understand certain things about your health. The current narrative, and chat wouldn't let me talk about this. I was asking ChatGPT to help me out with some thoughts and structure my thoughts, and it told me no. So I just said, fine, you're fired. I'll do it anyway. I'll do it on my own. But chat wouldn't let me talk about this. But the idea that the current narrative, especially in the United States, and this is shifting also with the MAHA movement, is that children require 72 vaccines in order to be healthy. Healthy children, you take a baby plus 72 vaccines equals a healthy adult.
No.
And you take children minus breast milk plus formula equals a healthy adult.
Yeah. No.
You take children and mom giving birth, something that naturally happens in the woods to deer and elk, but not humans. You take children plus a doctor and a cesarean section, and that equals a healthy adult. And then you can extrapolate that over time. And even with adults, it's like adults who don't exercise plus high blood pressure medication plus high cholesterol medication equals a healthy adult. And none of this is true. In fact, it's complete hogwash, all of it. Like literally a children plus 72 vaccines equals a sicker child.
Right.
An adult who doesn't exercise, who's already unhealthy, plus blood pressure medication, plus cholesterol medication equals a sicker adult, not a healthier adult.
1,000%. And first of all, can we bring back hogwash?
Hogwash.
I think that's
I don't even know what hogwash is or means.
But we gotta bring it back because that was, I think, really, I thought it was really good.
Some tomfoolery.
We have to talk like we're from the early 1900s for the rest of the episode. Listen,
these are just words that I hear from my elderly patients, and I want to repeat them.
Yeah.
Use them out of my time. You know what I mean?
You can't let them go. They got to stay in the vernacular. I think what's really interesting here is, and I've heard you talk about this before.
Yeah.
The concept, and I was actually talking about it with a woman this week. The idea that if you give a healthy adult, like, walk up to a healthy adult and be like, hey, I'm going to put you on these 10 medications.
Yeah.
It's going to make them incredibly sick.
Yeah.
Incredibly sick.
Yeah.
And it's the same premise.
I mean, best case scenario, they're at risk of each one of those medications comes with probably 10, 15 side effects, right? Potential side effects.
Right.
And if you have 10 medications and 12 to 15 potential side effects, you have 120 to 150 potential side effects. So this seemingly healthy person,
right,
takes 10 medications that a sick person needed to be healthy. But if you give them to a healthy person, now they get exponentially sicker. They're now at risk of developing 12 or 120 to 150 different problems.
Right. But you give them to a sick person.
But somehow magically somebody who's less healthy gets on these and they become more healthy.
And they're magically healthy. And so here's what the thing. In whatever counter arguments you want to make to that, it doesn't matter. It's hogwash.
Asinine.
It's hogwash. Because here's the thing. A principle is a principle is a principle.
Yeah.
And so if it doesn't make sense, like if it doesn't make sense in one scenario, then it doesn't make sense in the other scenario. Like it's not some Harry Potter magic is going to go happen and then it's going to make these medications make this person healthy.
Yeah, what
like,
in the
what's
Hogwarts?
True, it's what's true. What's true is true is true is true, right? And so if you want to take a sick person and you want to get them better, you have to do the same thing that a healthy person does to be healthy.
And the evidence of this is here. So we're the burden of proof is on the the prosecution. So if somebody wants to come after us about this, right, the burden of proof is on you, not on us. Like with defense, the reality is the evidence is this: heart disease, worse than ever; cancer, worse than ever; childhood cancers, worse than ever; diabetes, worse than ever; obesity, worse than ever. Well, medicine, you've been on the scene for 100 years. What are you doing? What are you doing? Other than robbing us blind, taking all of our money, charging us on average $8,000 to $15,000 for healthcare for a family, what is medicine accomplished?
Right.
We beat polio. No, we stopped poisoning people with DDT at pools. Polio wasn't even a real thing. Do that deep dive. That's a fun one. That polio didn't actually exist. But this is the thing, and this is the guys at Medicine Life Center. We did an episode back on our radio show, back when it was radio and not video like this. You couldn't see how good looking we were. But when we did this episode on radio, it was Sorcery. Yeah. I didn't plan on bringing this up today, but here we are at this moment that imagine, that you go to, you're not feeling well. You got something going on. You could be dealing with tinnitus. You could be dizzy. You could have, I don't know, any number of things. You could have a stomach ache or, whatever, allergies. And you're going to go to your local sorcerer. And, you're going to bypass all other means. Currently, you're not going to look at your lifestyle. You're not going to look at, is there anything that I'm doing? Is there anything maybe in my history? Did I have a traumatic birth? Am I subluxated? Is my family eating the equivalent of, fast food? Do we exercise? No. Let's just go to the sorcerer. Yeah. So we're going to go to the sorcerer and we're going to go, hey, I have this problem. Okay. Yeah. So let's use allergies. I have this problem. I have these allergies and I want them to go away. And actually, I don't even care if they go away. I just don't want to feel them. Yeah. So I want you to concoct me up some potion, pill, or elixir. And, I just want to take it. And I want my symptoms to go away. I want to feel good. Yeah. I want to feel good. Yeah. And they're like, well, here's the thing. I can make you feel good or you can be healthy, but I can't do both of those. Right. And you're like, well, I want to feel good. Okay, so here's the feel-good potion. Here's the thing. You got to take this. Okay, so I just take it once, right? And then I'm good? No. You got to take it for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. But with this, I want to caution you that this potion, there's potentially other effects that could happen. Like what? Well, it might upset your tummy a little bit. And it might, you might feel a little dizzy sometimes. And I mean, in a rare occasion, you could die, but we haven't seen that happen in a while. But you're going to take this potion and you're going to feel better and you'll love it. It's great. Take the potion. So you take the potion and you feel better. But all the while, these allergies that were your actual immune system, although it was behaving much more sensitive than most people's, you don't realize that the potion's actually shutting down that part of your immune system. So now all those side effects that they were talking about, well, they were early warning signs of the fact that you're developing something far more serious, immune compromisation, and you might actually develop an autoimmune disease or cancer. And the side effects were the early signs of your body just basically shutting down. But you feel good. The problem doesn't go away. The problem actually gets far worse. The symptoms go away. Other symptoms show up, undesirable things, but they're not the allergies that were driving you crazy. Right. But you can go back to the doctor for did I say doctor? I meant sorcerer. You can go back to the sorcerer for those other symptoms and he can give you a new potion, a new pill or elixir for these other symptoms. And you'll just continue feeling great with the exception of the fact that you're actually getting unhealthy at a, now you ready for another one? Breaknecking pace. You're getting healthy unhealthy way faster than you were previously, but you feel good. So it's in the name of health and we think we're getting healthy, but it becomes very clear that your friends around you who aren't doing that are actually healthy and you're falling apart. And then unfortunately, statistically speaking, when people do this and they go to their sorcerer, they actually die earlier.
Yes.
They die earlier and they suffer more sickness over a lifetime. People who use more potions, pills, or elixirs have a tendency to have worse health, not better health. And you can check the stats on that in the United States. And that whole thing is called, believe it or not, it's weird, but it comes from an ancient term that means sorcery. And that term is pharmakeia. That pharmakeia, if you look it up, means sorcery and witchcraft, and it's where we get the term pharmaceutical, which is the type of medicine we practice in the United States. We don't practice Western medicine. We practice pharmaceutical medicine. We practice pharmakeia.
Which is wild...
It's actually ancient.
Yeah.
It's actually witchcraft and sorcery. And it's trickery.
Right. And here's the
And
thing.
it has nothing to do with health.
And here's the thing is that there is a certain, when you change the dynamics of the language that you use, right? Like when you change the dynamics and here's the thing. We have a lot of very, very good people that practice in the traditional medical model. Right?
Oh, the people are great.
We have really good doctors.
The concept
we have really
is
good,
bad.
Yes, we have really good people that are doctors, and we have really good people that are nurses, and we have really good people that are part of an entire healthcare system that is inherently flawed inside of it.
Yep.
So it is not the people that is the issue. The issue is that the structure and the foundation of what we do, the foundation of practicing pharmaceutical medicine is inherently flawed. And not even flawed, it's inherently a very dangerous thing. And I can say that it's a very dangerous thing based on the rankings of all the 42 industrialized country and us being the dead last.
Yeah, the World Health Organization ranks the countries of the world by health every year, and these are industrialized nations. We're not talking about like no running water or toilet paper. Right. We're talking about like countries that actually have infrastructure, and we rank dead last, and we have for 30-ish years. When I say dead last, I mean like dead last, like last. Like we rank really good in one category only, and that is we can keep you alive and miserable longer than every other country on that list. But we rank dead last when it comes to paternal mortality at birth. That's moms dying giving birth.
Right.
We rank dead last when it comes to children and their survival at birth. We rank dead last when it comes to childhood illness. Yes. And mortality rates amongst children. Like babies are like, they're born healthy.
Right.
They're literally born, like they haven't been subjected to anything yet. And we do a worse job of keeping them alive. That's wild. So what are we doing? Like, what are we doing in those first 24, 48, 72 hours? Yeah. Or what are we doing in the, week or 2 weeks before they're born? I mean, we wouldn't be putting there's not any trauma, right? There's not any chemical exposure, because there's only so many ways that you can actually injure someone. It would have to be physical trauma. In the United States, there's actually a lot of physical trauma with childbirth. We pull them out and rip them out by their head using forceps via C-section. And C-section, we use 100 pounds of force to pull a baby out of its mother's womb. Nurses have to hold mom onto the table. That there's significant neck trauma to children at childbirth. Chemical trauma, there's mom is being exposed to medications to either speed up or slow down contractions. Yep. Baby is being subjected to chemicals near immediately, some intravenously. And so when you start to look at this, you're like, wait a minute, maybe we're not doing things right.
Right. No, we're absolutely not. And I think that there's a certain idea, like there's a certain language that really wakes you up from that. And I think that example, the language that you're talking about right now, where you talk about going to your local sorcerer to get potions, pills, and elixirs, that should wake us up out of the trance that we're in, where we're just kind of stumbling along doing the things that we've always known, that we've always known. Oh, if you don't feel good, you call the you go to the doctor, and then the doctor just gives you something, and then you feel better. And there's this thing that's like, oh yeah, that's just the way we do it. It's like remember that story about the person that was like, oh, every Thanksgiving they like chopped the end off of their turkey, and then it comes down from generation to generation, and then one day they're like the granddaughter's chopping the end off the turkey, and they're all talking about why they do that every Thanksgiving, and then the grandmother's finally like, I only did that because my pan was too little. Mm-hmm. Like I just couldn't fit the whole thing in. It wasn't like, that's not a better way to make a turkey.
I didn't have a bigger pan.
Yeah, I just didn't have a bigger pan. Like that's what it was.
And you're throwing away $12 of turkey.
Yeah. And you have a big enough pan. You have a big enough oven. You have a big enough pan. And the idea here is that you're going through life and you're just doing the thing over and over and over again that you think or know to be right.
Yeah.
And to get woken up out of that is a huge thing. It's a huge miracle to be able to happen, to be able to wake you up, wake your kids up, wake your family up and say, hey, we're not doing it anymore. Like we're not participating. We have decided this is not for us anymore.
That's true.
And it's a big transition. It's something that isn't.
That's true.
Most of the time, it's not just like a clean break. Most of the time, it's like, hey, I don't want to participate in this anymore. Yep. But then you get to the place where you're like, you have to make a health decision, and you're like, oh man, this is scary.
Yep.
Because the thing I know and love and trust that I've always done is the thing that I'm used to falling back to.
Yeah, it's as antiquated as balancing your checkbook.
Yeah.
Like most of you guys don't have a checkbook,
right?
Let alone balance it. There are a couple there. I don't want to upset the 75 and 80-year-olds who are still balancing their checkbook out of habit,
right.
But like we have data now, and that data, like using technology, like you can pull up your entire ledger and look at all your charges and all this.
It's antiquated. We were talking about a couple of weeks ago with my dad that when they used to call a home phone in your house that was your line, and he was talking about how he had a party line, where it was like everybody on the street was on one phone line. They picked up the phone and you could hear the neighbors talking.
There was this old belief. This old belief was that germs are going to get you. Mm-hmm. Germs are going to get you. This is an old belief. I just want you guys to understand this. This is old as it's a tale as old as time, that it was germs are going to get you and disease is going to get you. Polio is going to get you. Measles are going to get you. But what's funny is like there was a time where that wasn't the thought process. Like you can go back and in the 70s or whatever it was, what was the book with the elephant, the kid elephant? You know what I'm talking about? Not the Berenstain Bears. That was bears. There was one with an elephant. But I saw this old copy of this book, and back in like the 60s, 70s, whatever, they got measles. And literally the mom goes, oh, you're going to have some red dots and be uncomfortable for about 4 days. Yeah. And there was some of the general acceptance. But what happens is like with media and this whole propaganda machine, like why did we go from 13 vaccines in the 80s to hundreds of vaccines now? And vaccine is just a real obvious one for me. So I don't mean to keep saying that word that YouTube probably loves. But the other side of that is, pharmaceuticals in general. Like, why do we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of drugs all over the place, yet we're not healthier? Yeah. Like, I think that's the bigger overarching premise. Why do we have to label food that used to be food as now being organic, non-GMO, right, gluten-free? Like it used to just be food. Right. And the obvious answer is there's a 3-letter agency, which this is like, this should wake you up right here, is you have an agency that overlooks all of this and they make sure it's all safe for everyone. And it's called the Food and Drug Administration.
Why are drugs in with food?
Yeah. And why does it seem like now food causes problems and drugs solve the problem? But if you want to get off drugs, you have to change your food. And it's like, oh, maybe we should go back to an area. And this is, again, but the answer, and as much as we would all love to believe that there's going to be a health savior one day, with the initials RFK, the reality is the MAHA movement just taking out red dye number 40 or maybe removing some glyphosate. Actually, I think they just protected glyphosate. But removing some of these things isn't going to be the savior. The savior is going to be, we have to get back to an ideology that is substantially different. This is, for some people in Catholic faith or Christian faith, Holy Week. For us, we observe Passover. And so this week, it's an interesting time when you look at the death angel passing over the Israelites in that whole Exodus story. It wasn't the thing, the plague or whatever that killed everybody and only firstborns, but it wasn't this plague that was to be feared. It was not having the truth that was to be feared. It was not having the covering, not having the blood. And so the germ, the thing, the sickness, the cancer, the heart disease. In fact, even the promise in Exodus to the Israelites was none of these diseases shall come upon you. To us is no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And so the same thing is like, we're not to walk around life. And this is where we're starting off talking about the ideology and the premise and the principle. We use the word principle, that it's not the thing that is to be feared, not the germ, not the virus, not the bacteria, not the thing, but the idea that health is something you already have. It's inborn, it's innate, that your cells, your skin, I had a sunburn. I had 3 days in the sun, I got a sunburn, and my skin is literally peeling off like I'm a lizard or a snake, But what's crazy is my son and I were talking about this yesterday. That's evidence that I'm a new creation every single day, that I have new life every single day. I have new cells every single day. I have cells today that weren't there yesterday. And I have cells that are gone today that were there yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so I'm literally in a state of regeneration down to my genetic level. That's where that term comes from, regeneration. I have new genes, different genes today than I had yesterday. So even they're like, well, it's all genetic. No, I have new genes today. I have different genes today. And it's called epigenetics. It means above genes, above genetics, that there are things that we do that influence our health. And here's the wild thing is that health is already bestowed upon you and you've been given health. You are just a steward of it. That all you have to do is align yourself. That's a great word. Isn't it such a great word? All you have to do is align yourself with the principle. Mm-hmm. And what's weird is like there are aspects of medicine, like, every drug ad you've ever listened to, they always say this drug has been proven to be effective when combined with
exercise.
Diet and exercise. And it's funny, like even the drugs have to get in line a little bit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because the funny thing is, if they're telling you it's effective with diet and exercise, it means if they deleted diet and exercise, it was less effective. Mm-hmm. Because if it was just effective without diet and exercise, they would tell you that. Mm-hmm. But what they have to tell you is it's effective with diet and exercise, because when we put it up against diet and exercise actually outperformed the drug. It wasn't until we combined diet and exercise with the drug that the drug actually showed some benefit. How about just trying some good old-fashioned diet and exercise? Right. How about like by diet we mean just eating the normal intake that sustains life but not excess body fat, that sustains your activity levels and nothing more. And how about if we exercise, meaning we moved our bodies and used them to glorify God in the way that they were designed to be used? Like you're designed to be strong. You're designed to be fast. You're designed to be agile. Some of us faster than others. Some of us, stronger than others. But
I'm in the middle. I'm in the
mid-range. Like some people got to be in the middle. Right. But we're supposed to be using our bodies. And for God's sakes, like the way our bodies work, God put the intelligence in our bodies. God put a brain in the center of your skull and encased it in bone so that it could be protected. And that brain gives signals and life through your spinal cord, out through your nerves to every single cell, tissue, and organ in the body. And then he put an entire skeletal system around your spinal cord and your nerves to try to protect them while still allowing for movement. And vertebrates are like some of the coolest creatures on earth. We live as long or longer than anybody on earth. We're not easily squashed like bugs. And we have this internal skeletal structure that protects our nervous system. And so aligning ourselves with the idea of like, oh, well, maybe what if we kept that system really healthy? Mm-hmm. I was talking to a gentleman the other day and we were talking, like, he's got some significant issues in his spine. He's only in his 40s. And he's like, so I just do this forever now? And I said, no, you can quit chiropractic care at any time. You can quit brushing your teeth at any time. You can quit changing your oil in your car at any time you want. But what happens? What happens if you stop brushing your teeth? He's like, that's not good. Yeah. What happens if you stop changing the oil in your car? Not good. Okay. What do you think happens if you stop getting adjusted? Not good. And he's like, I've never thought about it like that. And I said, well, that's why you pay me the big bucks. And they're not big pharmaceutical bucks, no. But that's why you pay us. Is we're not here to just pop bones. We're here to coach you in your life. Mm-hmm. And I said, how easy do you think it is to keep your teeth healthy even if you brush them?
Right.
Like, do people still lose their teeth? He's like, yeah, like people still get cavities. Yeah. So it's not easy to keep your teeth your whole life, despite the fact that you do everything right.
Right.
How easy is it to keep a car running for 30 or 40 years?
Oh my gosh.
Like it's not easy.
Yeah.
How easy do you think it is to keep your spine healthy? And he's like, okay, I get it. And I said, no. I know you get it, but you're going to get it more in a second because your wife doesn't get adjusted and your children don't get adjusted. And so how easy do you think it is to keep your spine healthy your whole life? He's like, not easy. I said, you're 40-something years old. Look at the degeneration. You have phase 3 degeneration already in your neck and at L5 in your lower back. Right. And you're doing better. You feel good. Yeah. You feel great. You're getting adjusted. Yeah. That's awesome. I love that for you. But look at that damage, and that damage occurred before you started getting adjusted. So that was pre-40-something years old. Mm-hmm. So when did that happen? Who knows? Could have happened when you were 8.
Right.
Do you have an 8-year-old at home? He's like, I have a 9-year-old. I'm like, so it could have happened a year ago for him. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing. If your spine gets unhealthy, the result isn't just pain. The result is you lose your health.
Right. You
lose your health. Why do you lose your health? Because your nervous system controls and regulates all function, all healing, all experience in life happens through your nervous system. And so when your spine is out of alignment, it creates stress and interference on those nerves, and you lose your health when your spine gets bad. Now, how does that happen? Typically, it doesn't happen all at once. It can. You can get in a bad car accident. Right. You can play rugby and wake up and can't turn your neck.
Right.
You can have a trauma.
Right.
But the reality is it usually happens slowly.
Right.
Like most people don't get a tooth knocked out or broken in half. I had mine broken in half. So I'm on the rare side. I hung one off a basketball net one time too. So that's twice that it happened traumatically. But most people lose their teeth slowly. Mm-hmm. Due to deterioration.
Right.
Most people lose their spinal health slowly due to deterioration. It's the compounding and the stacking of stress and trauma and posture and birth stress and playing football and bad posture and looking down at their phone and all that stuff. And then eventually they start losing their health.
Right.
And they don't realize that. And I looked at him and I said, so my question to you is, you get it. You understand you have to take care of your spine. Like, look, you're feeling better. You're healing. Like, things are better. And I asked him, I said, do you feel like it's affected? He goes, oh, yeah, I sleep way better than I used to. I'm like, okay, if you're sleeping better, like one of the keys to healing is sleep.
Right.
Like, don't sleep for a while and see how well you feel.
Right.
I said, so you're noticing, those are called systemic changes. Like you're noticing like your physiology is different. When it comes to your wife and kids, how good do you want their physiology?
Oh my gosh.
So you're admittedly doing something that you know has increased your physiological function. Do you want your kids' physiological function, your wife's physiological function at its best or subpar? And he's like, all right, I get it. I said, no. I don't want the all right, I get it. If you really get it, you run to the front desk and you go and you schedule an appointment right now. And I said, how fast do you think you can run? And he looked at me, he smiled. He goes, I'm going to talk to my wife. I said, okay, I'm going to take this one step further. If you knew that something tragic was going to happen at your home right now and it was going to potentially ruin their future.
Right.
Would you ask your wife for permission to run home and stop that thing from happening? Or would you go and do exactly what you had to do today? If a train was coming down the tracks, your family was proverbially tied to the tracks down, what are you going to do? Are you going to stop that train? You going to ask for permission? I had a pastor tell me this one time, we pray about everything. We're going to pray about it. Like what you should do is pray that God give you a brain to get off the tracks.
Yeah.
And then pray again and thank God that he gave you that brain, and that you had that opportunity. It's like there are certain times that God just wants you to make a decision. And in this aspect, like the decision is, do you want better for your kids? Now that's chiropractic. I could do the same thing. I could do this with vaccine. I could do this with sugar. Right. I could do this with exercise. I could do this with any principle that aligns it. I could do this with prayer. I could do this with reading your Bible. I could do this with any principle that aligns itself with God. I could do this with oxygen. I can do this with water. I could do this. I feel a little bit like Cat in the Hat right now. Like I could do this in a box. I could do it with a fox. I could do it here or there. I could do it anywhere. Because
I was going to say Forrest Gump, like shrimp gumbo, shrimp kebab.
Yeah, shrimp cocktail, shrimp. But the reality is, why? Because it's true.
It's true.
It's true, and it's true in any situation that it's true. It's true when it's aligned with truth. And that's our job in this whole thing. And don't get me wrong, there are some aspects of medicine. There are some aspects, and I don't want to give them up. My son broke his arm, and his arm probably would have healed crooked and less functional. A doctor set his arm. That actually required a pain medication. But when they put that pain medication in him, there was a part of my heart that hurt because I'm like, I get the necessity of it for what they're about to do, but I know that has an effect on other areas of his body. Mm-hmm. Like, so what are we going to do? How are we going to realign ourselves? How are we going to help him detoxify from that? How are we going to, so don't get me wrong. There's the whole, the term that gets used, and this gets used a lot in medicine, is like, it's for the greater good, the greater good. Is it really for the greater good? Like in that instance, I actually think it was. We used a chemical in a needle, injected into his arm to kill some pain so they could reset his arm. And in the greater scheme of things, is that drug going to have a lasting effect on him over a lifetime? I think it's going to have less of an effect than his arm being dysfunctional with.
Right.
And so for the greater good, right?
Right.
But would that arm have healed?
Yes.
It would have healed. Right. It would have maybe healed differently than we would prefer it to.
Right.
And that's not an extreme example. Like you had a traumatic car accident.
Right.
You had plastic surgery on your face and you have one tiny little shiny scar and that's it.
Yeah.
And
well, it wasn't really plastic surgery. It was just a
plastic
surgeon.
Sorry.
Who did the stitches.
Yeah. But you had over 100 stitches in your face, right?
Yeah.
And like if you were to see your ankle, that looks very different. Like that looks like not a plastic surgeon did it. Nope. It looks like I did it. It looks like an amateur did it.
Looks like I did it when I was 16,
yeah,
15.
It's like somebody who probably didn't color in the lines while as a kid.
Yeah.
But
it was their first day on the job doing stitches.
There are certain things we are blessed by.
Right.
Like I think you prefer that you had some medical care.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
But we're not talking about health. We're in both of these instances, we're talking about trauma. And there are two places where healthcare, we call it healthcare, let's be honest, sick care, pharmacological care, surgical care, and they tend to go hand in hand because it's not fun getting surgery without pharmacological care.
Right.
I don't care to go back to the days where you got surgical care without pharmacological care.
No.
I was watching Yellowstone,
Oof.
and they had to chop off a guy's leg when he got bit by a rattlesnake. Like, I don't think we want to go back to those days.
No.
But at the same time, let's not call that healthcare. Like, that's not healthcare.
And I think that's the big
That's
distinction.
trauma care. That's end stage care. That's life, or it's not even life preserving care. It's comfort preserving care.
Right.
Like you're at the end of your life and you're actively dying. And you're trying to like not suffer so that maybe you can have that last conversation, with your children or grandchildren.
Right.
Like that, I get it. But then when we take that and we apply it to health and call it healthcare, and the crazy thing is when you do that, then you walk through life very differently than when you do this other thing that we're talking about, where you understand that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And you do things proactively to align yourself with health. Like you don't wake up one day and on March let's just say like roughly March 13th or 15th or whatever it was of, I don't know, like 2020, and then start believing stuff that's wild, like that viruses only exist up here when you're walking to a table in a restaurant, somewhere between about 4.5 to 6.5 feet in the air. But then when you get to the table and sit down, the virus doesn't exist there. So you can take off, a breathing apparatus, and you don't start believing bull crap, malarkey. For if we're going to use all the old terms today, we might as well bring them all out. Mm-hmm. You don't start believing malarkey just because some guy who now lives over, I think in Italy, with millions and millions of dollars, whose name rhymes with Rouchy, told you to.
Right.
Because somebody got on TV and deceived us. Yeah. Like we don't do that. And we don't do it. And we don't do it on a repetitive basis. And we don't keep and perpetuate this up. The best way that we do this is non-participation. And this goes for everything. This goes for sin. This goes for politics. This goes for, if you really want to change things, like non-participation in things is really where you start to wake people up. You ever notice that, like, even when it comes to politics, the one thing they want is everybody to get out and vote, because they want you to believe that your participation in it is actually the most important thing, because it's an ideology. And when it comes to this medical thing, our participation in it is actually the most important thing. But if we don't participate and we start living out something entirely different, we change the paradigm.
Absolutely.
And so this is where we get to have some power in this. And I want you guys to walk in that faith and that understanding that you are powerful. You're powerful because you were created powerful. That you have the most precious thing on this planet, which is life on this planet. Which is life, and that life comes from your creator. It doesn't come from a pharmaceutical. It does not come from a doctor. It does not come from an insurance company. It doesn't come from a chiropractor. That even our jobs are simply to help guide you and align you with what you've already been given, and chiropractic is just a piece of that puzzle.
It's so good. If you want to come into the office, if you're not currently under chiropractic care, you live in the Cincinnati area and you want to come in, you can go to alignhealthcenter.com. Go on right there. You can schedule your first appointment with us, or you can give us a call, 513-777-7575. And if you live outside of the Cincinnati area, we're happy to help you find a chiropractor that works a lot like what we do. And go ahead and go on our website again, alignhealthcenter.com, and shoot us an email, send us a message, and we can help connect you with a provider near you.